I had something that was very muddy and dark, and I really wanted to open it up, and Bloom did a perfect job, like literally almost just at default instance, of giving me exactly what I was hearing in my head. And that replaced having to bring an EQ on and a compressor on, and some type of mid-side. My name is Daniela Rivera. I'm an Emmy and internationally nominated mixing engineer, multi-platinum and Billboard charting audio engineer. I've had the pleasure to work with Mariah Carey, Justin Bieber, Rihanna, Karen Cece, Spelman College, and Morehouse. With the first instance of Bloom, really is just listening. Like, how is Bloom receiving this information and the source material, and how is it adapting to it?
Battling on my demons and these devils, trying to shake them off, trying to get them off. I've been trying to find a way to tell you that I don't want you involved. It's probably better.
So this song is pretty bare. The piano sounded pretty dark. It's fine and it fits the key of the song. However, once we bring in everything else and you hear the vocals, which also have just a brighter tone to it, this just doesn't fit the aesthetic. So just on a regular, just default insert.
Battling on my demons and these devils.
It's already opened up the piano to hear a little bit more of what's happening on the playing, which is kind of what the sound I was going for without ignoring some of those low mids that actually has the emotion in it. One of the easiest ways to hear what's happening with Bloom, I think, is just to adjust the amount. And I'm going to be a little heavy-handed just because I kind of want to see how it's responding to the signal. And then I'm going to bypass it so we can hear what we started off with and then like what Bloom is interpreting. So for me, it's like immediate of like going underwater and being covered up and murky to being opened up with the same emotion and intensity, but now with some clarity and something that fits more with the aesthetic that we're going for. I think it's revolutionary. It's hard to define because there hasn't been something like it before. When you first look at it though, you identify like multiband, EQ, compressor, but as you start to work with it, you realize, no, it's none of those things either. The way people are recording nowadays, it's an absolute need. We've got a lot of home recordings on very basic, cheap, interfaces with a basic, very cheap microphone, interference, resonance, all kinds of things. And so it's actually solving the problems of this new age of recording. I'm also a big fan of subtractive EQ. I'm not one who does a lot of boosting and things like that. And I have the ability to like dial in what I want without affecting like low or highs because it is adaptive and it keeps changing. And I'm also a very just fundamental mixer. Levels, panning, get that static mix right. Biggest rules is to use your ear. And in this case, you actually do. Use your ear and hear what it's doing. Then you can start to guide it and drive it to get the desired result. Another way that I kind of have found how I would use Bloom in my workflow is very heavy and almost like parallel. So I found some really good uses of it under like hi-hats and also guitars. So it's not so much changing the shape of the sound, but it's allowing it to be way more aggressive without getting over compressed and cut through the mix without like making it loud. That's how I've also found a great use for it. This one has a lot more fun and funk to it, and there is this really cool, funky chug guitar that is a very important part of the song. However, it was being a little bit buried in the mix. Now I can always bring it up with level or try to adjust some EQ, but I thought, let me get a little bit heavy-handed with Bloom and kind of use it really to bring out the transients. And so in this particular case, when I've inserted Bloom onto it, here in the amount part, I'm actually going into the squash range. And I think this is where you can actually have a lot of fun with Bloom and really start to change the shape of it. And not only that, it's almost like becoming a bit of like a transient designer as well. So I'm gonna play it without Bloom first, so we can just kind of hear what was happening. So here I have the attack all the way slow, but I have the release all the way at the fastest part, which kind of creates some interesting sounds. So let's just solo and listen to that. So I'm gonna bypass Bloom on and off. On. You'll also start to hear a lot more space. So like the room and reverb that was already on the stem is starting to become a little bit more pronounced. Another thing though that I did was back off of the very high end. So we've disabled that by setting the upper frequency of the processing range so that that's being left untouched and that natural sound from the guitar is still coming through. A better way to actually listen is to go ahead and set an A-B. So we'll start on A with the fast release.
Whole time, girl, you're about your bag, you bring home and when I see that, I know
and we'll go to B.
You don't like to be outside, you like your privacy, and it's good for me to see.
So what I hear that automatically happens is like first bar, second bar, it's okay. The third bar starts to go away. You can't hear it anymore. It starts getting ducked underneath the track. And again, that was the problem I was already having. But when I have it on the fast release, it consistently stays the first transient that you hear throughout that section. You can process the entire signal and allow Bloom just to take the lead and adapt to each source, or you can be the driver and kind of guide it as far as like low mids, high mids, don't touch that, yes, touch this. So there's just a lot of versatility with this tool. One thing I've noticed about Bloom is you've got to throw away everything you've been taught and how you would normally approach a compressor's attack and a release or an EQ's boost and cuts, because it's always adapting based on the source and also based on your moves that you're doing. So your ear becomes a priority tool on how to drive this plugin in the right way.